ARK Invest has put out their October 2024 Bitcoin monthly report, and their new price target is going to shock you for Bitcoin. And we'll go ahead and get into that. We'll get into the breakdown of things that they're looking at and their expectations for Bitcoin, as well as the strength and health of the blockchain and on-chain metrics. And if you guys want to see more, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit that like button. Follow me on X and Threads. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. So the first thing we have here, market summary, they talk about the healthy market structure for Bitcoin. They talk about the fact that Bitcoin crossed above its short-term holder cost basis, the on-chain mean, and the 200-day moving average. And that's honestly very bullish for Bitcoin. And remember, this is back in October. And they also say that the assets under management and spot Bitcoin ETFs hit a record high at about $70 billion. And in fact, it's not gone up much more than that since then. They also talk about the fact that they show this new metric called Contango. We're going to get to that in a couple of slides here, but that's going to be bullish for Bitcoin. And they talk about the AV/IV ratio, which is kind of like an MR/VR ratio and a Z-score. But this is basically them coming out and saying, hey, we could see a price target of $115,000 for Bitcoin, potentially speaking at an all-time high and a peak in this bull market. They also say that the primary takeaways here, consumer price inflation is likely to decelerate further. Now, this is really important for Bitcoin because as the inflation goes down, that means the Fed can cut rates, and as the Fed cuts rates, that's bullish for Bitcoin. All right, so we're going to go ahead and just get right through this. We're going to go straight to the on-chain data. This has been moving a little bit. Long-term holder supply has actually moved to bearish. The time weighted turnover gets double upgraded to bullish, and then the mining difficulty also gets upgraded to bullish as well. So the only thing that's bearish right now is the long-term holder supply. And then you go to the derivatives market, and the only changes here is short-term holder cost basis got upgraded to bullish, and perpetual futures basis got downgraded to neutral. All right, so the first thing to talk about is the price hitting those levels. The short-term holder realized price, the on-chain mean, the 200-day moving average. It moved above all those prices. By the end of October, it was about 70K. And so this is actually, I would say this is bullish for Bitcoin. ARK says it's neutral, but the simple fact is that these could be regions of support if Bitcoin ever does come back down again. Next, they talk about the assets under management in Bitcoin spot ETFs. This is something I've been pointing towards a lot that show momentum and adoption in the Bitcoin market. And they're trying to say here that the ETF balance hit a record high at $70 billion. Now, this is from the high previously established back in March. It went up to past 70, and in fact, it's actually above that now, past $70 billion. And they're also saying that it could be a leading indicator of the Bitcoin price to the early 2025. So basically, as the assets under management continue to go higher and higher and higher, Bitcoin price is going to move higher because that shows that more people are buying those ETFs, which means that those ETF firms have to go and buy Bitcoin. They also talk about the Contango. So the Contango is a positive future basis, meaning that the futures price is trading above the spot price. And now normally when this happens, that means that an extreme difference in the two leads to a pending or actual bear market. Okay, so they point towards here in 2021, this green line, when it actually went up a lot, it went past like 40% or so. This kind of signaled an incoming bear market, and that seemed to be the case after 2021. And they're also saying that in March, it went above 30%, which was fairly high. However, where it is now compared to where it was back in March, is a pretty big difference. Now it's at about 11%. Back in March, it was 30%. Basically, what they're looking at right now is this is kind of an indicator for whether or not Bitcoin has been overbought. Back in March, it was extremely overbought. Right now, it is not that overbought compared to what they talk about here for the Contango. They also talk about the mean dormancy per Bitcoin. So this refers to the period during which the average Bitcoin has not been moved. Now, I kind of represent this myself when I say short-term holder, the short-term holder supply of the Bitcoin total supply. And that what they're saying here is that the mean dormancy per coin is 1/3 of Bitcoin's total lifespan, which is fairly high. In fact, it's close to the all-time high set back in 2017, which is probably about 33% or so. And what this means is that people are holding onto their Bitcoin. The long-term holders are holding onto their Bitcoins. They're not selling them. They're waiting for that next all-time high, that next bull market top. So this is a bullish sign for Bitcoin. Next, they talk about the AV/IV ratio and that price target of $115,000. Now, this AV/IV investor ratio, this is like kind of like an MRVR, market value to realized value Z-score kind of deal. And so what they're saying here is that if you take a look at the AV/IV ratio, they look specifically at this on-chain mean upper band here, which is about 4.5 or so, and compare that to where it is currently. They say that Bitcoin could go to a potentially a bull market top of $115,000. Okay, so this would basically say if it goes up that high, that's if it goes up to that red line, then that's irrational exuberance, and that's going to lead to a top in the Bitcoin price. And that top potentially could be about $115,000. All right, so this is going to be important. ARK is, for some reason, saying this is neutral. I think this is bullish. But the underlying fact here is that Bitcoin is still undervalued. And even with the huge run up to the price that we've seen past 90K, they're actually saying, hey, no, $115,000, that could potentially be the bull market top. All right. Next, they talk about what's going on in the U.S. economy. They say that the the budget deficit is unstable, and deficit spending could push capital towards cryptocurrencies as individuals hedge against the debasement of fiat currencies. This has always been the bullish thesis for Bitcoin, and that is that the Fed continues to devalue the fiat currency, namely the dollar. And as a result, the spending power of people who own dollars is always decreasing. So this could lead them to buying things like Bitcoin, which is not inflationary, it's deflationary, and the price keeps going up. So they also talk about the income tax. They're thinking that income taxes are going to go lower based on the new administration, and I think that's probably a likely conclusion. And as income tax go down, that means people have more money to spend and potentially buying more crypto. But they say this is neutral. And they also talk about the money supply. So the M2, the money supply. Now they're saying that the M2, the money supply growth is kind of in line with CPI, and money supply has been heading lower. So that means that CPI, the stand-in basically for inflation, is going to be heading lower. And so we should hopefully wind up seeing that inflation continues to go down and down and down and down. And then as a result, the Fed can continue to cut rates, which would be very bullish for Bitcoin. All right. So in summary, this has been a very interesting Bitcoin monthly report. Now, normally ARK is more bearish on the economy overall. And they were saying we're going to head into recession. We're going to head into recession. I didn't personally think so. It doesn't seem like that's going to be the case in the near term, but I don't have a crystal ball. I can only give a best guess. So they're also saying the fact that Bitcoin has been incredibly strong. It's moved above its 200-day moving average, the short-term holder cost basis, the other on-chain means, things like that. And the fact is that Bitcoin's momentum continues to carry it higher and higher and higher. Assets under management continue to be higher. The contango is actually very bullish. And then the AV/IV ratio is pointing towards $115,000 Bitcoin. This is a very bullish ARK report compared to the ones that I've talked about. Probably the most bullish one that I've seen so far. And I've done almost 2 years of worth of ARK BTC monthly breakdowns. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you actually think that this is going to be the case, if Bitcoin's going to reach 115K in the near term, leave a comment below. Let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next video.